continuing to study the truths that God is sharing or is revealing to us. Now, what I have presenting is concerning what work of help. And today I want to think up, maybe share a few other thoughts on what we have at so far. So my lessons were dealing with the nature of man as it relates to what health reform in relation to our nature. So we began by understanding our nature, but before that we looked at the relationship between the work of health reform to the third angel's message, or the truths that God is sharing or is revealing to us. What was the relationship between the work of health reform and the third angel's message? We saw that it is an entering wedge. It's about a right hand. So the body is the gospel. The truths that God is sharing is revealing to us are calculated to produce in us an experience that is the body. But health reform is the right arm, it's the hand that work. It's there to help the truth for this time to do its work in the way it's supposed to. Then we saw that it's an entering wedge. An entering wedge is something that helps you split wood. Then we looked at the nature of man. We saw that the nature of man is how? It's reformed, intellectual. Maybe we can just use an image of the brain to represent intellectual. Now we saw that this encompasses what? Knowledge, understanding. Then we saw that we also have what? Oh, sorry. We have intellectual, moral, since it's that which helps us to make a choice. Let me use something like a compass. Okay. East or west. This is what helps you to do what? Now this includes what? This is moral. And this includes the will. What is the will? It's the deciding power. Okay? And what is the conscience? Yes? This one tells you what is right or wrong, and this one helps you to choose the right or wrong. Brothers call it the discerning power, and you can go and take more on that. Also, we have the physical, okay? Physical, we can use a heart, okay? This is physical, and it includes what? The feelings, emotions, thoughts. Yeah. So, what is the right relationship between these powers? Then later we saw that these are the higher powers, and this is lower powers. So, who is supposed to govern who? Who is supposed to rule over who? The way that God created us, the higher powers are supposed to control the lower powers. But when the lower powers are reigning over the higher powers, then we are in bondage to the lower powers, and therefore you're prone to fulfill the desires of the flesh, the lusts of the flesh. So later on we looked at how what we eat and how we eat affects the balance that we are supposed to maintain. What is that balance that we are supposed to maintain? So that the balance that we are supposed to maintain it means that higher powers are controlling lower powers. So, but after sin, we saw that there came a change and lower powers were controlling over the higher powers, okay? So we saw that what we eat can strengthen these lower powers and therefore make it difficult for the work of the gospel. And the work of the gospel is to do what? To restore this balance. So that in Genesis 3:15, God gave a prophetic gospel which is intended to restore this balance to what it was. But what you eat, what I eat, especially we look at which kind of foods, animal products, they do what? They strengthen these lower powers. So if they are strengthening these lower powers, then our aim is to be restored to the image of God. Then it means the gospel may never work that which God desires it to do in us. And that's why when we read quotations like those who have converted in the subject of meat eating will go out from God's people. It doesn't mean that now meat eating or flesh eating is the criteria which God is going to use to sift his church. It simply tells you that if you continue indulging in flesh, then you will never be benefited by what? By the gospel. And therefore you walk away from God's people, you never then. So that's how serious this subject is. Itself is not the gospel, but it affects how we receive the gospel. And not only that, many diseases coming from these animal products, meat, flesh, milk, eggs, all those things are causing harm to the health of many people. So that's what we basically covered. And then in our last lesson we looked at the means of God's communication to man. We saw that the nervous system, this is the only means through which God communicates to man and affects his inmost soul. So this is how the truths that we are studying here you don't understand them by your hands or your passions. You understand them by exercising what? The higher power. So this is the only way God communicates with us, and we saw different foods which can affect how this system works. And if they affect this system, what happens to us? The truths we are studying here, the communications that God is sending to us, we cannot receive them. Okay? And how do we understand these communications? Line upon line, okay? Here, so diet then, you see, diet is connected to how you apply the methodology. And the speakers have been emphasizing that for us to understand these truths, we need to do what? We need to sacrifice, we need to put time to it. And line upon line seems easy. This methodology seems very easy, but it requires what? It requires us to exercise all our mental capacity. That's what God has blessed us with. So if we indulge in animal products, if we indulge in tea, coffee, and all those other stimulants, those things which harm the body, then line upon line, which is the methodology that God wants us to use in order to understand the communications which He is sending us, which we must receive through the nervous system, which is the only means through which we get these communications. So, another thing that the speakers have been showing us is that we are living where? Which period are we living? We are approaching the crisis, okay? It's a crisis that is soon to hit every nation, including our nation, Kenya. So, do we need a preparation for that crisis? Yes. We must prepare for that crisis. And just like we prepared for Sabbath, okay? When that crisis hits, it's like we have now entered Sabbath. What do you do before Sabbath? Do what? Thorough preparation. And all the speakers have been showing that since 9/11 onwards, in fact, since the time of the end, we are supposed to do what? To prepare, but especially from 9/11 onwards, we're supposed to do a work of preparation as we see the events connected with the close of preparation unfolding to us. And in scripture, we may not deal with all of them, but you will see this shown to us in different ways. When we read in Daniel chapter 1, chapter 2, you see the importance of health emphasized. And what was to follow thereafter? Was there a crisis? It was a crisis. There was an image that was to be set up, and they were not supposed to bow to the image. But before that crisis, what we see Daniel and the Hebrew young men going through work of preparation. And part of that work of preparation involved what? Diet. Okay? So that tells us that before we reach the crisis which is ahead of us, if we are indulging in wrong eating habits, this subject of health is more than just eating, okay? So if we are indulging in any wrong practice, we are preparing to make the wrong choice when the call comes to bow to the image, okay? So if we are persisting on these animal products, in fact, by the time that time comes when the image is set up, we will have been overthrown already. Because when does our preparation close? Yeah. For us who are here. So you see that even before that time comes, we are not prepared. We will not be able to. The Sunday law doesn't really. Our crisis begins early, okay? Our testing begins early. Therefore, we need to be ready today or yesterday. Now, when you look at the history of the Israelites as they were journeying to the promised land, in the book of Numbers, you can look at a few incidences in the Bible. What happened to them before they entered the promised land? Before the spies brought their report, we see in Numbers chapter 11, we're going to read from verse 4, it says, And the mixed multitude that was among them felt a lasting, and the children of Israel also wept again, saying, Who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers, the melons and the leeks, and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. And the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it. Okay, you know the history of what happened here. But there was a lasting. God gave the children of Israel what? What did He rain from heaven for them? So we see God desired to change their diet before they entered where? Canaan, the promised land. Is this supposed to teach us anything? In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, we are told that all these things were what? Examples. What does that mean? They are good moral lessons. 1 Corinthians 10, beginning from verse 1, it says, Moreover, brethren, I would note that ye should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. And did all eat the same spiritual meat. So what was the manna? It was supposed to be spiritual meat. The evangelical, our sister in the morning was teaching us that from 9/11 there was what? You were supposed to eat of what? Manna, manna. And she told us that there are these two meals. There is what? Barley and wheat. But what do people choose? Now that is prophetic, but in relation to our diet as well, we see that God wants to change our diet. Now, verse 4 says, And did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of the spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was who? Christ is the bread of life. But with many of them, God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. They were what? Overthrown. What does that mean? They died in the wilderness, okay? So in our history, we see people who are overthrown at some point. God's people being overthrown at some point in time. We've all been studying Daniel 11 verse 42. Bible, we see there's a point when you reach verse 41, many are what? Many are overthrown. So here, many were overthrown in the wilderness, Now these things are in samples to the intent that we should not do what? Lust after evil things as they also lasted. Now, which evil thing did they last for? Flesh. So, what is flesh according to this verse? A good thing or an evil thing? It's an evil thing. So, I think if we all exercise faith, we should immediately cease from eating that which the Bible calls evil. Okay? So this says here that, so this is a warning for us not to lust for. In fact, it's not a warning, it's telling us that these things are what? Ensamples. Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Now this is the story in Exodus chapter 32. You know what happened at the foot of the mountain? Where was Moses? In the mountain, okay? So, what happened to Moses? He tarried where? In the mountain. And what did the people do at the foot of the mountain? He told Aaron to make them what? Golden calf, an image, and they worship idols, okay? Did eating and drinking contribute to the choices they made? Yes. So here we are told that the people sat down to eat and drink, and they rose to dance, to play. So it's a type. This, what I want us to take from here is that eating and drinking contributes to the choices they equal. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed and fell in one day. How many? 320,000. Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happened unto them for what? For examples, and they are written for admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Now, if we bring all these lines, we study all these lines, they are teaching us our line. They are telling us that in the last reformatory movement, where God is raising up the 144,000 best people, because of wrongful habits, will make them all these wrong choices. Now, so if we are told in the spirit of prophecy that we should reason from cause to effect, okay? So the idolatry that happened at the foot of the mountain, we see it connected to wrong thinking and wrong habits. Before they entered the promised land, we read from Numbers 11 that the people lasted for flesh. And what happened? Many of them did what? Died. But connected with it, you will see that their moral, their morality, their morality also was affected by what they were eating. Okay? Because what happened? Balak wanted God's people to be what? To be cursed. And he tried to seduce Balaam to curse them, but he could not. There was one trick that Balaam revealed to him. What was that? If the Moabite women come into the camp and the people could be seduced to eat in sacrifice to idols, then they could do what? Commit fornication with this. Now we know that we know the prophetic application of that story. But I want us to see that for them to commit that fornication, what had to happen first? They had to indulge in what? Animal products, okay? And what followed thereafter? They committed fornication. Now that is not the only place in scripture where we find that effect as a result of wrongful habits. We read in the book of 1 Samuel. In the book of 1 Samuel chapter 2, we see a similar scenario. Now, here we are told about Eli. Eli had how many sons? Yes? Now we are told about the two sons of Eli. What did they do? We are told in verse 12 that now the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. They knew not the Lord. And the priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's servant came while the flesh was in seething, with a flesh hook of 3 teeth in his hand, and he struck it into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot. All that the flesh hook brought up, the priest took for himself. So they did in Shiloh unto all the Israelites that came thither. Also before they burnt the fat, the priest's servant came and said to the man that sacrificed, give flesh to roast for the priest, for he will not have sodden flesh of it, but how? Raw. Now, if you jump down to verse 22, it says, now Eli was very old and had all that his sons did unto all Israel, and how they lay with the women that assembled at the what? The door of the tabernacle of congregation. Now, these men who are supposed to be priests, they are lying with women at the door of the what? The tabernacle of congregation. Do you think that these actions that they are doing are connected in any way with their habits? Yes, because we see the habits they are indulging in right before that are what? They are eating flesh. And what kind of flesh? Raw flesh. So, in other words, what is happening to their lower passions, their animal propensities? So, these men are being animal. So, these acts that they are doing here, they are directly a result of their eating habits. We see that you are not only eating evil things, but was there temperance in that? No, because we are told that whatever that the book brought out, yeah, that was his to do what? To eat. So these guys, number one, you are eating evil things, you are eating intemperate, and that which is not good for the body. And as a result, what will happen to their senses? Benumbed. Their moral sensibilities were deadened, they were benumbed. That's why they are arriving at such conclusions. Now, in Israel today, do we hear of such things? Men entrusted of taking care of God's flock are involved in the same sins that we see here. Any sons did what? That. So what do we expect? The same actions that they were doing are being seen today even among God's professed people, Seventh-day Adventists. So it's telling you that those men of whom you hear such reports, what are they eating? You don't need to go and find him eating flesh, because already you see their actions, okay? They are behaving as animals. So that tells you that their diet is consisting of that which is animalizing them. Is that solid? Now, what shall we do then? So we read and we saw what we are supposed to eat, what God has provided us to use for food, and what is it? Yeah, we're supposed to return to Eden. Yeah? Yes. What was the diet in Eden? Yes. Grains. Yes. Vegetables. Nuts. Prepared how? So the way of preparation is also important. Now, all these, they develop different parts of our bodies. We talked about the nervous system, all faculties that we have. If we eat these foods in right combinations, then we will supply the body that which it requires. We also need to study how to prepare these foods. Now, what else do we need? This is to do more to do with diet, okay? And we say that the work of health reform is it just diet? It's more than that. So, what else do we need other than nutrition? This is nutrition, okay? So we talked about nutrition. So what else do we need for the well-being of the house in which we live? Exercise. We need exercise. What else? I hear water. What else? Sunshine. Sunshine. What else? We need temperance. What else? Fresh air. Fresh air. What else? Yes. Trust in God. Now, what do we call all this? Yes? New start. What is it? What is new start? Yes? 8 laws of health. So these are the laws of health. So these are laws which govern the what? Our physical well-being. In as much everything has laws. We have the 10 commandments which govern us, and who is us? The threefold component, yeah? That is us. Now, the house in which we live is also governed by the laws of health. Now, we talked about nutrition. We need to avoid that which is harmful to the body and use that which is good for the body. What about exercise? Does it affect this relationship between higher powers and lower powers? Yes. How? Yes. We need to go and study these things. I'd like to read a few quotations to see the importance of exercise. We are told here, how many of us exercise, by the way? I know many of us, because some of us do physical work. We are seeing that, okay, I've done what? Exercise. So we rarely exercise. You go to the shamba, you do your work. Okay, that's good. That's part of exercise. But we need exercise that all parts of the body are what? Are benefited. So that is not enough. And also some of us, most of us are students, most of us are used to studying, and we give a lot of time to study and less time to exercise. That is not good. But only there are men and women of excellent natural ability who do not accomplish half what they might if they would exercise self-control in the denial of appetite. Many writers and speakers fail here. After eating heartily, they give themselves to sedentary occupations, reading, study, or writing, allowing no time for physical exercise. As a consequence, the free flow of thoughts and words is checked. So, what does lack of exercise do? Free flow of thoughts and words is what? Checked, is affected. So, it's affecting free flow of thoughts. So, what is that doing to the nature of man? It's strengthening the lower powers, because if you are affecting the physical components, what will that do to the intellectual and moral? Yeah? Are these the way they operate? Are they connected? Do they affect each other? So whatever is affecting the thoughts, obviously is going to affect them. And this is a scene. This is a habit done by who? Those who read a lot, writing. Those guys who are doing much writing, they allow no time for physical exercise. Those upon whom rest important responsibilities, those above all who are guardians of spiritual interests, should be men of keen feeling and quick perception. Feelings, which kind of feelings? Say here, keen. Our feelings need to be keen. What about perception? Quick. Quick means alive. They are alive, okay? So lack of exercise, more than others, they need to be temperate in eating. Rich and luxurious food should have no place upon their tables. This is another book. Okay, I'm reading from, this is Ministry of Healing, page 308. That is the same quotation I've read. That is where I've read the paragraph from. The same page, continue reading, it says, here is a suggestion for all whose work is sedentary or chiefly mental. Here is a suggestion to those of us who are most of our work is mental, sedentary. Tumekaa tukifanya kazi yetu imeinvolve kukaa sana, hatufanyi physical labor. This is a suggestion for us. It says, let those who have sufficient moral courage and self-control try it. What is it you're supposed to try? At each meal, take only 2 or 3 kinds of simple food and eat no more than is required to satisfy hunger. Take active exercise every day and see if you do not receive benefit. So we must take what kind of exercise? Active exercise daily. So I think that is to all of us. What are we going to benefit from this? It says sufficient moral courage. What else? Self-control. So self-control, moral courage, which is basically what we've been discussing here, are affected by the kind of exercise we do. What? We do. So tafadhali, exercise is very important. What about water? How much of our bodies is made up of water? 70%? Yes. 90?
75 to 80%.
Okay, over 70%. Now we looked at, there's a day we were studying about this nervous system. We looked at the neuron, yeah? And we saw that information flows here using neurotransmitters. And we saw there's a point where there's a synapse. What was it? Then it's like a gap and okay. So what is in here? All this is water, okay? This is a fluid. It's not liquid or whatever it is. But if we are made up of water, then we need to supply our bodies more and more with water. Now, how much water are we supposed to take? Mwalimu? How are we to take water in
At least 2.5 liters.
2.5 liters.
At most.
It depends on the weight of the person. If you're overweight,
Depends on
the weight.
the weight of a person. Yeah. What are some of the benefits of water? Taking water. Water is itself is it can heal. Water heals, but before you use it for healing purposes, we can use water to keep the body healthy. There are so many health benefits. Maybe another class we learn more of those. We are told here, this is what we are being told from Council on Diet and Foods 419. It says, water can be used in many ways to relieve suffering. Draughts of water, hot water taken before eating, will never do any harm, but we rather be productive for food. Now, what are some of wrong habits that we indulge surrounding water? Eating and drinking at the same time. Drinking cold water.
Drinking
Hot water. Anything that harms the body, we read the other day, harms the what? Brain, because that injury is telegraphed to the brain. So that at the end of the day it will affect how the higher powers relate to the lower powers, how you appreciate the truth. Because if you're drinking and eating, what happens to the food you're eating? Will it be digested? So, number one, you won't get the benefits from that food. Number two, it's fermenting. And fermentation produces what? Alcohol. Mlevi huwa anafanya aje? Doesn't have banners. So this alcohol is ending up where? Brain. What will happen to your sensibilities? Benumbed. The same result. So we need to avoid these habits. They are for our own good. Sunshine. Yes. Time. Before sunshine, let me read here the same quotation. CD 419. The next paragraph, paragraph 4 says, thousands have died for want of pure water and pure air. Have we talked about air? Air is there. So, how many have died for want of water, pure water and pure air? Thousands. It will be sad for us who are understanding these truths to risk dying because of lack of pure water and pure. How many of us are desiring to see Christ coming? All of us. And that is the hope we are getting by studying these prophetic truths. They are telling us that our salvation is now how nearer than when we first believed. But if we are breaking any of these laws, it means we will also be on the wrong side of that great event. Okay. So we are being told here that these blessings they need in order to become well. If they would become enlightened and let medicine alone and accustom themselves to outdoor exercise, to air in their houses, summer and winter, and use soft water for drinking and bathing purposes, they will be comparatively well and happy instead of dragging out a miserable existence. So many people are sick because of lack of fresh air in their houses. So as we build our houses, in our houses we need to allow fresh air to circulate in our houses. What does air do? Absence of air, what happens when we lack air? Suffocate. Why do you suffocate? Yes.
The air becomes.
Which part is affected?
The brain.
The brains, no. So that tells you that if we are inhaling air which is not fresh, even if we are not suffocating, the brain is being starved. So suffocation is simply tells you that you have denied the brain oxygen. But you can be denying the brain pure oxygen, which is also harmful. Okay? Is the brain important to us? No. So what about sunshine? It's good for the what? Development of the bones. What else? We get vitamin D from sunshine. How should we get this sunshine? What time? It was in the morning, evening. So temperance, we talked about temperance. Did we? What is temperance? Doing away with that which is hurtful to the body and using how? Judiciously that which is good for the body. Air, we have seen the importance of air. Rest. What about rest? When do we rest? When we sleep. So we should have Huh?
Sleeping is not rest, I don't.
Okay, this is not rest.
It's the worst type of work we do. If you cheat yourself that when you are asleep, you are resting.
Okay, we take that one out. But we need rest, okay? That means we should do sufficient work, no overworking. Some of us who do physical work, we overwork, do work from morning to evening. That's not good. There's a quotation I read that work should not even be extended to afternoon. We need to rest. We need rest. It's about trust in God. How important is it? Yes? If we do all these things minus trust in God, what are we doing? Many people in the world are doing these things, okay? They lack one thing, which is trust in God. So the difference between them and God's people should be seen. We are not doing this in order for us to save ourselves or to redeem ourselves from the effects of sin. We are doing this in order to allow nature to help us recover that which we have been losing because of wrongful habits. Now, because of time, I think we shall stop there. So let's go and actively try to do this, or rather obey these laws of nature. Let's go and actively from today start exercising our will by taking the right diet, the right foods which God wants us to use. Let's from today actively try to put our will on whose side? God's side. We were told that is the immeasurably small duty we are supposed to do, but God cannot do anything until we do what? We exercise our what? Our will. All these truths we are learning, everything we are learning here, hello? Everything we are learning, we are enriching our what? We are enriching our intellect. But will this information force you to do what it's saying? No. Now, as we are getting enriched, we need to exercise our will. The good thing is that now when your conscience will be getting good information because you'll be storing good information in your good knowledge, good understanding in your intellect. So whenever your conscience will be telling you this is against God's will, what are you supposed to do? Exercise your will. That's what Daniel did. Okay? That's what Daniel did in Babylon. They knew in their intellect, they knew that these kinds of food are what? Harmful. And what did they do? They exercised the will. And what does the Bible tell us? That Daniel, they found favor in who? Not only in God, but the Bible tells us that the person who was in charge of them, they found favor with him as well. Okay? How did that happen? Was that a miracle? In as much as they exercised their will and put it on the side of God's will, God was there to do what? To help them. So to singoje that God will make everything good for us in order for us to exercise our will. We must exercise our will and God will help us. So let's humble ourselves as we pray. Okay, now loving Father, we come to this Sabbath morning. Thank you, Lord, for what